Hello guys, good evening. In last video we have learned about how the HmacFilter works and how the Spring security works, um, and what is the request scenario and what is the output of the request. We have all learned about that. In this video we are going to do the debugging process, where in HmacFilter I'll show some scenario of getting exceptions, uh, where we have exceptions like here in the body section we have the request data. I think it is taking some time to load. Yes, here we have requesting data, and here we have provider ID. We'll get this output when the request JSON matches with this code, right? Then we'll get the output. We have seen that output in the last video, and in this video we are going to do some exception handling process along with some debugging process. Yes, in HmacFilter, in last video I'll show some case where we run this application as clean spring boot :run. We have some custom exceptions as well as generic exceptions, where custom exceptions are created by us, and Spring security will, if the custom exceptions, when we won't do some custom exceptions, then Spring Boot it only gives us the exceptions in its own type of exceptions. Where the application is already running, we are going to call this, I'm going to invoke this. This is the output of the of our JSON request. Then I'm going to change this to get I'm going to modify some of the things to get some exceptions, where exceptions is here, validation exception, and exception handler filter, wherein I'm also doing some, I'm going to explain this enum also, where in first let me explain the what is error code and error message and HTTP status, where when we'll get some exceptions. It is a standard type of way that error code and error message, it is the standard type of getting exceptions, and with error code and error message we will get the HTTP status as 201, as it is not an exception. 201 has created, and for exceptions 500 and 400 in between, what are all the exception will come, those are all between 400 and 500. Okay, error code and error message and HTTP status, these three are the standard type of getting exceptions. Where in error code enum, it is a constant where we have that error code and error message, what is the type of code and what is the error message of that exceptions, we'll get in this outcome of this postman while calling API. Okay, here we have invalid provider as error code as this, and error message as invalid provider ID. Currently we are processing PayPal only. Here we have in the body section, they are providing only provider ID as PayPal. Now we are going to modify this to get some exception. Temp, I'm going to add this, and now in payment service IMPL, when the request data is come in between, it will check the payment DTO. It is having that request dot get provider ID must be dot equals to PayPal, then only the provider ID. No, if it is not equals, here we have this, what is this is called, exclamatory, no, yeah, exclamatory, yes. If the provided request data is having provider ID with the data as PayPal, then only it is we are getting that the output as valid request with PayPal. Otherwise it will give the provider ID as invalid with some exceptions, like error code enum is a constant and invalid provider is a constant with error code. Error code means in a constant class we have created some constants with error code and error message, so it is going to display error code and error message and bad request as a HTTP status. Here we can see the bad request is of 400 type of bad request, right? Can we just see that? Yes, now I'm going to shoot, I'm going to call this API. Yes, here we got 400 as bad request with error code and error message. This is the outcome of this exception. With we have the validation exception. It is invoking that here it is here, yeah, it is triggering this validation exception with the error response as error code and error message, right? Here we have controller advice. In this place we have thrown this exception is thrown, then it is caught by this exception, like it is caught by controller advice, rest controller advice. Then the error code and error message of the error response will get displayed, and with HTTP status also. See, here also we can see the error response with error code and error message, error response, error code and error message. Currently we are processing PayPal only. Then in this exception handling, I am going to comment this off. Okay, now I'm again going to shoot this. We have commented this exception handling. We have commented this exception handler, which it is having rest controller advice, and we have also written some exceptions, validation exception in this exception handler filter also, where it caught validation exception with same error response and with error code. Error response contains error code and error message. When the controller advice is going to stop, then exception handler filter will get caught with the validation exception. Here I'm going to now shoot this. We got this scene because it is triggered with this exception handler filter, because it is now commented. The rest controller advice is commented. Yes, next is we are going to do some exceptions on HmacFilter, where paint open. Okay, here we have, wait, I'll explain once. HmacFilter. Okay. Here we have authorization filter, right? What am I doing? No. Wait a second. Yes. Here we have authorization filter. This is the last filter. And next we have HmacFilter. Then now we have created this exception handler filter, where it is, where is the code? Is do filter the payment controller. Yes, authorization filter is the last filter, and we have created custom filter like HmacFilter, and we also have created this exception handler filter, right? Exception handler filter. The filter is connected. Exception first we have this authorization filter, in between we have created HmacFilter. It is connected. Then after exception handler filter also we have created. Here we have code where do filter add filter before authorization filter before HmacFilter will come. Then we have also created exception handler filter. Then we have taken another filter, add filter before authorization filter. Authorization filter means this filter is going to this comes here. Then in between we have exception handler filter. Exception handler filter. Right. Here authorization filter, it is the last filter. Next we have created custom filter as HmacFilter. HmacFilter is before in this place. Then after HmacFilter we have added another custom filter as ExceptionHandlerFilter. Before authorization filter we have added, before authorization filter, exception filter, then comes HmacFilter. Right, this is the way the filter works. This is the way we have created our custom filters. Then what else? In the HmacFilter, okay, let's try. Okay, if the received signature in the header section in the postman we have created this HmacFilter with signature. We are having this HMAC signature with the signature. The received signature is the this signature, header section signature. The request dot get header HmacFilter. In the header section we have HMAC signature. Then if the received HMAC signature means in the header section HMAC signature is the received signature. If the received signature is equals to null, means if this is null, then we'll get this exception. Like it is going to print it is not valid sending 401 error with this error message and error code in the validation exception. Right. Here in the enum class, means constant class, we have missing HMAC signature with error code and error message as HMAC signature is missing in the request header. This is the error message. We will get that error message and error code with 401 bad request. Right, bad request as for 400. Now we are going to call this. We have disabled that HMAC signature. Shoot, we are getting this 400 as bad request and 103 as the error code, and HMAC signature is missing in the request header. Right. Oh, we have removed this. Let me uncomment this. I'm going to call again. Yes, this is same. When the REST controller advice is placed, Then the first initiative is taken by REST controller advice. First it is going to execute the exception. Then if it is controller advice is not if it is not there, then valid in exception handler filter, it is going to execute the validation exception. It is going to execute here in the exception handler filter. We have this error code and error response with error code and error message with the JSON data as HTTP status dot value, means it takes this HTTP status as bad request. It takes as this application. If it is having application.json, the content type, it is going to set. Then with JSON.toJSON error response, it is going to display like this. This is the JSON structure. Then we have this generic exception. Now we are going to experiment this. I'm going to comment this off. Okay. I'm going to save. Now I'm going to shoot. It is going to caught by validation exception from the exception handler filter. Okay. If this is not in the case, I have commented this all. I'm going to save this. I'm going to call again this API. It displays as 500 internal server error with error code, the different one, and error message as unable to process the request, please try later. It is going to display this generic exception, right? Exception handler filter generic exception is HmacFilter is missing in the request header validation exception. Right, we are getting this generic exception with error code and error message. With HTTP status as internal server error with value as 500. Value as 500. Okay, let me debug this.